Oh yeah, I was mute. Sorry. Sorry. Thanks for that. I've seen Maya trying to join, but so I was saying, like, how should I call you, Benjamin or Rukunda? What do you prefer?
Benjamin. I think Benjamin comes easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Both are fine for me. So,
so. Yeah. I still think Benjamin is more internationally known because it's a common name, I think. Yeah.
Common name. Well, it depends on where, but yeah. Exactly. So we have people in the chat. Subham, so feel free to ask any questions. So this space is for all of you to ask any questions you have. So especially about the spec, given that we're gonna release version 3 pretty soon, or that I hope. And about tools and processes and whatever. So
there is that issue you wanted to clarify, that GitHub issue in last time on the Zoom call. Possibly you could talk about it more. I didn't get clarification from it, possibly.
So you mean the one that we discussed the other day? About, let me put people in context. So let me just find the link to the issue. So did we create an issue in the end?
I don't think we did.
No, right? So it's a pull request. Yeah, simplify parameter object. Okay, I think I'm gonna share my screen. It's gonna be easier. Yeah, so this one. So it's about this pull request, right? So what happened really quickly? What happened with the parameter object from version 2 to version 3 is that we actually simplified it. So we removed stuff from it. We removed features from it. So let me give you an example. Channels. Okay, that's not a good example. Let me just let's see if this simple example is enough. Nah, that's too simple. Maybe this one. Why not? Okay. So this one here. So channel parameters are this part here. So you have channels, the name of the channel, and then you have parameters, right? And the name of the parameter and so on. And this is the definition of the parameter. So if we go to components, parameters, strict light ID, it's here. You see that it has description and schema, right? Here. So what we did is we actually simplified this. We removed schema, right? So in version 3, there's no schema anymore. So this will not be allowed. What else? So it's the same as in server variables. Let me go to the documentation. That's going to be easier. I need this one. So if you go to the documentation, you'll see that there is a server variable object here, right? So it has description, as we saw in the previous example, default, enum, and examples, right? This is not the object that I'm talking about, but we made the parameters to look exactly like this, or almost exactly, right? So parameters, so channel parameters is channel item parameter object. Here it is. Yeah, so channel parameters used to be like this. You could have description, schema, which is a schema object, and location. But we thought, like, this is too much. Like having a schema here, which is a schema object, is too much. Most people don't need that many features, let's say. So what we did instead is that we simplified the object. And what I mean by simplifying is we made it look like this one, the server variable object. So it's enum, default, description, examples, and the location field that was previously on the parameters object. So this will effectively look like something like this. So imagine you could have here enum. You could have yeah, it's suggesting the wrong thing. Enum default examples. I think that's it, right? So yeah, enum default description examples and the location. So now these are the allowed fields on parameter. On version 3, this will be the only allowed fields. Description, enum, default, examples, and location. You don't have to use them all, of course. Actually, you cannot. You can leave it empty. You can leave this up like this, and that will be version 3 as well. So that's none of the fields are required. But an enum will be an array of values. Like for instance, if we know that this parameter is going to be either 1 or 2 or 3, then you can list them all. You can just have a list there, right? Or you can actually put them like this as strings, I think. So yeah, that's like you know, like what we converted the parameter object to this, right? If you don't know a predefined set of values, like it's the case here, it's an ID. An ID can be just any object, right? So, or if you know a predefined set of values, maybe imagine that it's 1, 2, 3, but by default, let's say it's gonna be 1, right? You could describe it like this, and then you can put examples here as well. Like you can have multiple examples. Like I mean, this is a stupid example because it's just 1, 2, 3, right? But yeah, like imagine that you want to put like you don't have default or enum, and you want to instead put examples. Like this is a street like ID. This is an ID of an object. So this could be, I don't know, just one random object, one random number, right? Like that. So it's like this. And the last, so again, like I'm not going to remove all the fields. Let's leave it there, just so we don't lose them. And the last one will be location, right? So location speaks about where you can find this parameter in the message. So this hasn't changed. This is the same as before. So if we go to parameter object, you have the definition here, location. It's a runtime expression that specifies the location of the parameter value. So like for instance, we can say like the value of this user ID parameter can be found on the message payload, on the user object, on the ID property. You know what I mean? It's like we don't know the value upfront. We can only tell you about the description, like this is what it means, but we don't know the value upfront. But you can find the value in the message payload or in the message headers. This could be a header as well, or you know, like you can specify where to find it, right? So this hasn't changed. This remains the same, but there's no schema. This hasn't changed as well. Like description is the same thing, location is the same thing, but schema is not. Schema is removed, and instead we add enum, default, and examples. That's the pull request here.
I think I'll call that.
So an example here. Yeah, so that's what I did. Before it was the schema, description, and a schema. And what I did, description, schema, and location. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about location. So what I did is it became enum, default, description, examples, and location.
Oh, yeah, nice. That
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So yeah, and let me check the chat. Oh man, lots of questions. So yeah, related to Glee, my suggestion is that you reach out to
So
Suvik.
Vic, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Kuda, even Kuda.
Or Kuda as well. Yeah. So Suvik or Kuda on Slack. That's my suggestion, right? Because I'm not lately so much involved in Glee. So I don't know. I know it's lacking a lot of documentation, and but the guys are actually working on this. So yeah. So maybe that will be a good way to get involved into Glee to help with the documentation. And related to Studio, so for Studio, we're working on the new version of Studio, right? There's a project here that you can see, but this is probably not speaking so much to you. But what I recommend is that you visit this URL. Let me share the link. And so here you can see the progress that we're making on each issue that we have. So just so you know that we're working on cycles of 6 weeks, and then we have like a kind of a rest for 2 weeks, and then another 6-week cycle, and so on, right? So at the beginning of the week of the cycle, before the cycle actually, we agree on the set of issues that we want to do during the 6-week cycle. And this is what we agreed as a starting point, this first cycle, that we're gonna do this, and this. What are these things? You have the links here to the issues, right? Where everything is hopefully well explained. So yeah. Here you can see the progress of each of the subtasks, because these are big issues, right? And each of them has a subtask, a list of subtasks. We call them scopes, but yeah, it's a subtask if you want. So these are the dots that you see here. Each subtask, how far are they upon completion? So yeah, and you can see the progress here and so on. How do you get involved? Cool. So you see that most of them are stuck here on the beginning of the chart, like progress 0, like it means that it hasn't been started, or not much progress have happened, right? So what I suggest is that you pick one of them in any of the issues here, right? And go to the click. You can click on the dot, or you can click here on the title, whatever you want, and it will take you to the issue. So for instance, if we get to this one, you'll see that it's not assigned to anyone, and no one commented saying, I'm working on this issue. So that's an opportunity for you. You can just say like, you can probably not assign it to yourself if you're not part of the organization already. But you can just leave a message and say, hey, I want to work on this. So I'm picking this one myself. And yeah, so the only thing that we ask people when they get involved is please give some like kind of regular updates. So for instance, like don't disappear for 2 or 3 weeks, given that this is a 6-week cycle, right? So if you disappear for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe that means that we are approaching the end of the cycle, or we even finish the cycle, right? So if after 3 days you don't, don't spend more than 2 or 3 days without giving an update saying, hey, I'm still working on this. I'm just trying to figure out how to continue or do this or X or Y, whatever, right? So yeah, that's my advice. And yeah, but that's the way. The way is it's open. It's you decide which one you want to choose, and you can just jump in, right? So yeah. Benjamin, I catch you. I don't know if you had enough information to continue, but feel free to stop me. Okay.
It's okay. The question was answered. Thank you.
Okay. That's cool. And there are no specific channels for any tool, as far as I know, on Slack. We have a channel called tooling that is meant for that, so for all the tools, right? We don't feel the need to create a new channel yet. What I do instead is, let me share the other screen. What I do instead in this case is no, not this one. Where is it? Where's Slack? Okay, here it is. So what I do in this case is I post here, you see, like new logo and sidebar components, and I put the pull request or whatever, and I ping Ad Studio. Ad Studio is like a group of interested people. If you want to be pinged every time, if you want to be in that group, on the studio group, just have to tell me, right? This is to notify all regular studio contributors at once, so I don't have to go one by one. And if you want to be part of this group, just let me know and I'll add you. It doesn't mean that you're gonna work on studio. Maybe you just want to be notified every time there's something new. Like we have some people here, like for instance, Peter is not working on studio right now, but it's interesting for him to get updates on what's happening. Same for Ace, right? So if you want to be part of it, I'm happy to add you here. And that's it. The reason I'm using tooling and not other channel is to avoid segmentation. You know, to avoid too much segmentation, so that because by putting these messages here, everyone working on any tool can see what we're doing in Studio. So that gives us more visibility on what's happening in Studio, right? So it is mainly for visibility. So if you come here, well, that was a long message. So again, I usually post the message on the issues saying I'm starting work on this issue right now, but I also usually, sometimes, not always, I post a message on Slack as well, like, hey, just so you know, I started working on this, right? So yeah. That's usually the way. That's what I do, and that's what I encourage everyone to do. If you want to pick an issue, just leave a comment. That means it's automatically assigned to you, and yeah. So that's what I usually suggest to do, right? And feel free to ask to be added to the studio group on Slack. I'm sorry if I'm speaking too fast, because like I only had 20 minutes today, but I thought it was worth. So yeah, I'll have to drop in 2 minutes. So yeah, I'm expecting to do more of this regularly. Whenever I find like 30 minutes or so in my calendar to grab a cup of coffee or something, and let's do it. So yeah, so it's more casual. No problem. I'm here to solve all your doubts and questions. Happy to help. By the way, the work happening on version 3 is not just a spec, but I just want to raise this, that there's a lot of work to do regarding documenting version 3 that is being led by Alejandra. So yeah, that's another thing probably you guys could get involved if you're in the mood, or maybe you don't like documentation, that's also fine. But yeah. All right. So for today, I think it's a wrap. And let's see. I'll publish the record. Well, the recording will be automatically available on the YouTube channel, AsyncAPI YouTube channel. and I'll update the video on YouTube with the meeting notes that Fathom is creating for us. So yeah. Thanks everyone. Bye bye. Cheers.